Uduasha city, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow. 800 years ago, the gates of death were broken by the Emperor Immortal. The five key bearers, however, had already unlocked them and walked right through. It is in Uduasha city they dwell. Now, the ghost field breathes next to our reality, lit by the eternal flame of the well of Udu. It is a second skin, a place where thought and will struggle against gravity and light. In other places, the dead congregate in the ghost field, but in Uduasha, the well city, the hell city, they fall straight into the flames. See its glittering districts: Kshitijpur, where the rich plot to buy the horizon; Bunda West, where the refugees of two different nations flock; and Pasarhandu, the vertical maze of market and murder. And here is Udepat, where the ceaseless temple resides. Its inhabitants, a family, a snake, and a god. The temple has stood since before the gods of this world were forgotten. Watch as it turns the wheels of revolution. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about people who take risks so they can survive against the odds. Well, hi. Welcome back to Desperate Attune and our current campaign of Blades in the Dark, called A Candle Ablaze, set in the city of Uduasha. I'm Tree, or Soumithri. I'm your GM, and I will be running this game for you today.
My name is Emma. I am playing Joan, a retired ghost fighter, and I use she/her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Klow. In real life, my name is Zoheb, and I'm a he/him, and I'm playing Miraz Chakraborty, the crew's leech, who is an engineer turned cult leader.
I'm Prince, he/him. I play Vickers, a roof baller and Miraz's wife.
I'm Soap. I play Abbas, the religious scholar, and Pain in Miraz's side. And yeah, my pronouns are he and him.
Oh, I actually forgot my pronouns, which are all of them. I really don't care.
I mean, it's very easy to forget all of them.
Indeed, this is certainly what I find. So, when we ended our last session, in the sky, Vickers, the angel of death, was soaring above the roof ball tournament. Roof ball match. It was being held for charity because some conniving busybody was intending to demolish the temple and build in its place some kind of terrible shopping mall. Instead, we hope that the crew will make enough money so that they can bribe the bureaucrats and kind of get out of this alive. Some of the problems they are currently facing includes the fact that Begum Boshundara, the busybody aforementioned, is about to get her thugs to take everybody out. Morosim, the hive contact that Miraz borrowed some money from, has turned up with two thugs in the uniform of the Angels of Death, surely for some nefarious purpose. And the snake, His Majesty, watching all of this from a perch that has been built for it, specially for the occasion. Is there anything else I'm missing? I don't think so. I think those are all of your terrible things that are currently going on.
I believe Abbas and Emma were in the middle of an altercation with Bushundhara and her.
Yes,
Yeah.
so Abbas and Joan were there. Miraz was headed to help Vickers, I think. No, Miraz was blessing a noblewoman and her daughter, and Vickers was, of course, in the sky. So let's, I think, start with what is probably your most pressing problem, which is this impending, let's not call it a riot, but certainly outbreak of violence, right? So Begum Boshundara, who is the, I'm going to quickly look it up. I keep forgetting her commission?
I believe it's the Udeput Redevelopment
Yes,
Society,
correct.
or
No, it's the Udeput Development and Restoration Committee, or is it the other one?
No, that's this one.
oh,
The development and restoration one is the one that wants to develop and restore the temple to its correct place as a shopping mall. Of course, at the same time, the big enemy of the Commission for Development and Restoration, which is the Commission for the Preservation of Udaipur, has also arrived.
Please use the correct title, which is Udaput Society for the Preservation of Landmarks and Heritage.
Yes.
when I came up with these names, I was afraid that I wasn't making them long and winded enough. But it's good to see that that's not an
Not
issue.
only are they long and long-winded enough, I think you may have risked me making them longer and longer as we play this game.
All part of the plan.
Indeed. So Sheikh Abdul Qasim Siddiqui on one hand and Begum Bashundara on the other hand, close to an outbreak of violence because Abbas has tried and succeeded somewhat, but not. Oh no, you rolled a 3, failed miserably at trying to avert any kind of problem. And I think Sheikh Abdul, who I think is himself not very keen on violence, but he's come with some like some friends, some ne'er-do-wells who wouldn't mind a punch up. Like, you know, you're going to a roof ball match, you expect some violence. So Abbas, at the moment, you've kind of like managed to delay violence by a little bit by focusing it entirely on yourself. And that is where we last saw you. So I think Begum Bashundara whistles in the way that only a person who is used to getting attention whistles. We'll just say loud and clear. And for 1 second, we even see the people playing roof ball like turn their heads as if like, are we being given an instruction? No, they're not being given any instructions. But certainly some people are about to do not very nice things to you. Joan, where are you? Are you approaching this at this moment?
Joan, I think, was in this conversation as well and felt it slipping away from her when Abbas took the stage and set their stage of it.
Yeah, I think you are correct. Yeah. So Joan and Abbas, both of you can see there's a couple of people. I don't think they have weapons. I think they are perfectly willing and able to beat you up with their fists. And they're not like, you are not known to be violent. They're not expecting you to be, you know, like resisting them. But certainly one of them makes to like grab you by the collar and kind of like swear at you and make it very clear that you better tell everyone to clear off, Abbas. What would you like to do?
Ooh, all right. So you said that the other party, with Abul Qasim, also may have some goons with them.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say these are not like trained thugs necessarily. They're more people who are comfortable in a scrap. But like Begum Bashundara has come with people who were expecting to maybe like do some violence. So like in a straight out fight, Abdul's friends would probably give their best and not win.
Oh dear, what did we do indeed? Okay, so they all right. So just remind me. Okay, they just want me to tell, like, so we've had the little get together here to delay proceedings, and they just want everyone to clear off.
Yeah, they just want everybody to leave so they can go ahead with like quote unquote inspecting the premises and like basically making a note of what they need to do in order to bring it down.
I think, not to interrupt, but just to add a little bit of extra context, I think Miraz would have noticed this situation, especially like if they lay a hand on Joan, right?
Yeah.
And I think he'll be making his way through the crowd as fast as he can, but probably not fast enough to take over the initiative.
And I don't think, to be clear, they are targeting Joan yet because Abbas's resistance was directing the violence instead of it like kind of exploding outwards onto him specifically.
Okay, my bad. But yes, I'm
Still see
making
your
my
uncle
way
being
forward.
like, yeah, in danger, no doubt. Like,
Okay. Okay, so let's say I think maybe Abbas might notice Ramirez coming towards him because it's not like, and I think that it's not too it's not too dense. Maybe like the grounds are big enough to see someone, or like Abbas maybe okay. How about this? Abbas is looking around. Is probably his first instinct in a situation like this would be to see where Vickers is because she's the one who gets out of scraps like this.
Unfortunately, she's aerial.
Yes, she's yeah.
Everyone can see her.
Yeah. All right. I think just to delay, Abbas gotta turn to Abul Qasem and say, Qasem bhai, are you really going to let them get away with this? Hmm? This temple has stood here for thousands of years, and you're going to let them turn it into a shopping mall? Qasem bhai, do something. Come on.
If you want him to back you up, this is a rule. He's your friend, so in any other situation, you'll probably have limited effect, which is to say that he would try and get in the way and then fail, right? But he would make some attempt. But in this case, you've known each other for a long time. He's willing to do this, and he's more likely to put someone in front of him. So I think you cannot stand it effect. But you are still in a desperate position, and right now you are risking level 3 harm, I think. Which is to say, this guy's very happy to just break your arm, and not in a nice way.
Remind me, was Abdul the hang glider guy?
No, Abdul was not the hang glider guy, was he? He was the
He's the guy with the.
He's the Udaipur. He's the conservation.
Jesus Christ, these names.
Yeah, I just don't remember who Miraz was bonding over hang gliding with, if that was Abdul or someone else, but he wasn't.
I have a contact, but he hasn't appeared on screen.
Yeah, he has not. Yeah, that's who you contacted in order to get your hang glider.
Yeah.
The hang glider guy is the brilliantly named Bahadur.
Yes.
I see.
So yeah, I think if you are leaning on your connection with Sheikh Abdullah, this is more likely to be a consort. I think consort and sway both work. Both of them you will have standard effect. They will kind of manifest slightly differently, right? But you'll definitely get what you want, which is him to intervene.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, as desperate, I assume this kind of thing.
Yes. Oh no. Level 3 harm, friend. He's gonna. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh boy. Let's see what happens. Help me.
I was gonna say, do you want a devil's bargain, assistance? No, you've just gone for it. That's fine. It's a 5. Okay, I know exactly what happens here, which is that Sheikh Abdullah does actually. He's looking at Begum Bashundara at this moment in a. He's quite shocked that she would attempt this kind of rank violence in such a place of history and sacred meaning, right? And rather than doing the clever thing, which is asking, the young strapping woman to his right to intervene, he goes, "What in the name of, what do you think you are doing here, sir?" And instead, this guy who's going to beat the shit out of you punches Sheikh Abdullah in the face and probably breaks his nose. So you will stop it, you will not get hurt, and Sheikh Abdullah will get hurt on your behalf. And quite badly, I think.
Mm-hmm. I want to protect.
Yes. Excellent.
Yes. So I think I'm rushing in, and just as I see the fist about to rise and do violence, I'm going to interpose myself. And I'm fast. I also do play the roof ball.
Yes.
I'm done with the kids. I interpose myself, and I'm going to grab this guy by the hand, and I'm going to look around. I don't think I know Begum Bashundara by sight, so I think I'm just going to address the crowd in general and be like, "What is the meaning of this? This is a celebration. It's a roof ball match. There's no place for violence here. It's a holy day. No. Listen, if there's some sort of problem here, you address me. I'm the high priest."
Okay. So the protect action as written means that you are taking the consequence instead of Abbas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Unless you are now going to resist, you're the one getting punched in the face.
Yeah. Okay. I think. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So actually, no. I know what this does. In fact,
I also trauma out, by the way.
Okay. Then I know exactly what this looks like. So you say this, So you rolled 2 2s in order to resist, and you took 4 stress. So that's a trauma. What happens when you take a trauma, when you max out your stress track, is that you're briefly taken out of the scene as you deal with the stress of everything that's happening to you. And I have a question actually for Vickers here, which is, Vickers, what weapon is your system best trained in?
Oh, my sister. Good. Okay, I will give you 2 answers. I think it depends on the severity of the situation. I think that she absolutely is a trained sniper, but I don't think she would rely on that in this
not at this
situation.
moment, probably, yeah.
But obviously, she also has a fencing foil.
Yeah, okay. And so I think this is what happens. Miraz, you step in the way, and what is about to be like an incredibly dangerous blow is in fact deflected by you. Probably, have you like recovered from your injury yet?
No, I'm still head cut.
So I think in that case, what happens is you will take a level 2 harm, probably something like broken nose, because I think it's quite funny, this image of first Abbas getting hit, like punched in the face, and then Sheikh Abdullah getting punched in the face, but it finally turns out Miraz is the one getting punched in the face. As soon as that happens, the thing that also happens, the reason that you're taken out of the scene in this moment is that he's about to like draw back and like really go at you. And we see Elizabeth Ashcroft, whom nobody calls Lizzie, thank you very much, draw her fencing foil not out of the scabbard, like it's still in the scabbard. It would be rude to draw a sword in a place like this and point it at this guy. And she will say, I'm afraid that this person, and she says person in with like real disdain, right? Like this like leech is already spoken for. He will be coming with me. And then she turns to Abbas and Joan, whom she knows at least by reputation, and says, your temple is none of my concern, but I'm afraid I must have some conversation with my brother-in-law. And she like picks you up by the scruff. I don't think you're knocked out, right? Like you're still like conscious or whatever, but you're unable to resist her like pulling you like away from the crowd, which is now getting more heated because Sheikh Abdullah's friends definitely did notice that like he was about to get hit very badly. And now the tense standoff is really going to devolve into violence.
Before we transition, I want to have my reaction to this. So Miraz gets punched, sucker punched, and he's like, "What the fuck? You fucking what?" And then like, Lizzie, what are you doing here?
Yeah, very good.
I said I'd like to step into the situation devolving before it gets into a all-out brawl, if that's possible.
Yes, I think that you have exactly 1 moment to act here, because some violence at any roof ball related event is not uncommon, right? Like, sure, sometimes they play matches and there's no violence outside the match at all, but usually there isn't. But in this case, given the people involved and given the very high tensions already, you're very likely to, yeah. So you have a moment here to stop it because you haven't been involved yet. So you're perfectly poised to do something. I think you are still in a desperate position here, but I think in this case, the desperate consequence is not harm. I think the desperate consequence is your congregation and like your crowd, not all of whom are necessarily like your faithful, but certainly your congregation being like quite badly beaten, which, you know, is really quite bad. You should, yeah, but that is your desperate consequence.
Excellent. So a sudden like extreme decisiveness comes over her, and she appears, as you said, exactly in the right moment and in the right place to stand between the two groups with something of a green glint in her eye, saying, you stand on holy ground and you will listen to the will of the Infinite One. Abdul Bashundara, he wishes to speak to you both as your host before you make any decisions or start throwing any commands.
Incredible.
And then the seriousness melts out of her face, and to a kind of kind smile. So please, if you'd follow me. And I am using hypnosis for this to push myself.
Desperate. This sounds like a command to me.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
does.
So desperate. You can do this. I think again. I don't think you were at like limited effect necessarily before, but I think your standard effect here now is that they will come with you. And to be honest, with hypnotic, they will come with you anyway. But like the way that that manifests will be quite different based on whether you roll a 3 or a 4+.
Yeah.
And to be honest, probably now that you've called on your god, some of the desperate consequence will bleed over there. But because you've invoked him, he's probably also like he's casting an eye. Right? So like in some way, in fact, the harm to your congregation is being shielded by him, but that's not it may not be like a cheap thing. It's probably better to just get like everybody beaten than draw the attention of your god, probably. But who knows? We'll see.
Probably. But Joan doesn't know that. Is there anyone who could help me in this regard?
I think I can assist you, yes. And you are trying to get these people's attention and like have them talk to you and diffuse the violence. Am I getting that correctly?
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think what I will do is I will peel off some of their thugs because obviously my team is still acting, so the ball of the roof ball will bounce next to them and they are going to be very distracted because even if they're not in the match, when the roof ball is near you, you act.
Oh no.
I will assist you by having planned for the ball to like bounce and roll behind everything that's going on, and a couple of the thugs peel off.
Very good. I also think, by the way, that this I know exactly what's going to happen to you, Vickers, if this doesn't go perfectly. So that's very good.
Good.
Yeah. Are you pushing for effect or for a die?
I am pushing for a die, I think.
Makes sense. So that's 2 dice.
Okay. I do love the idea, by the way, of like a rugby ball landing near someone's feet and just like this look up and then consternation as if a grenade had landed there.
Yes. That's basically the reaction.
Yeah.
So 2 bonus dice. Desperate standard. Let's see this roll. It's a
Okay.
5.
So here's what will happen. The first thing that will happen is that both Boshundara and Abdullah see in your eyes the will of something ancient and divine. And they are powerless in the face of it, right? And though Boshundara doesn't give a single shit, she does live in Uduasha, where the divine exists, very obviously, and she cannot deny it. Sheikh Abdullah, on the other hand, is almost on it, right? So they will come with you. I think that your hypnosis is in fact so powerful, and the god is so convincing in this moment that they will not be the only people who will come with you. And I think that two of the people who will also join you are the people who were Miraz used the influence of the god on, who happened to be nearby, who are a noble of House Andrakis, who we gave her a name.
Yes. I named the child Nabila and Rakas. I did not name the mother.
The mother's name is Farzana. I've always liked the name Farzana. So I think like Nabila and Farzana, I know exactly why they're nearby. It's because the rugby ball has landed nearby, and Farzana, as we know, is Nabila is a huge roof ball fan. So I think the snake wants them to come with. So it's not just going to be the three of you. You're going to have some hangers on. That's your first consequence. The second consequence is that the person who looks down at their feet and sees the roof ball and goes, shit, why, fuck, please, is saved. And they are saved by two thugs in a uniform very familiar to you because it's your uniform, but they are in fact Morrison's thugs. They are not players. And they're going to use this opportunity to pick up the roof ball and get into the game so they can do some damage to Vickers. Or something. Maybe they're there for other reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I think like those are your two, like, rather than one desperate consequence, what's happened is two risky consequences, right? Like, and you can resist either of them separately. But what will happen as you move towards the perch is people will recognize that clearly something is going on. The violence at the moment has stopped because both the leaders have like apparently been summoned by the gods, so they're gonna take a step back. And I think this is when we cut to the roof ball game as these two thugs. I'm so tempted to give them like very funny names. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. They are called Goopy and Baga.
Oh god.
And they are actually roof ball enthusiasts themselves. They do love the sport. That's why Morrison picked them. And as a result, they are very like fluent as one of them picks up the ball and then the other one like puts his hand like down near his hips and like locks his fingers and launches the first one, right? Because technically, after you pick up the ball, you're not allowed to be touching the ground. And as a result, it's okay to be on another person. It's just not okay for you to be touching the ground. So like, there's like a cool moment where he jumps, picks up the ball, and then jumps back onto the roof, and he's got the ball now. And because he's trained to sabotage you, he's running back towards your goal.
Good. I know precisely how to deal with this.
By the way, I also want to take one step back here and ask each player to give me one rule of roof ball, which may or may not be universal. Maybe it's only specific to this match, this region, Uduasha. But I think that like, while we don't need to define the entire sport, it would be nice to know some things that people can and can't do. And like, my contribution is that you can't be touching the ground while you hold the ball. And I will nominate Vickers to go first as the currently playing player.
Sure, absolutely. I think that I will introduce an obscure rule just to start with it. I think there's a specific rule about the location of the team captains, where, like, if either of the team captains like abandons the match, then they lose. But the issue is, of course, that the match is fluid, right? There's no one set playing field. So it's not like you can leave the playing field. It's more about if the team captains are a certain distance apart, then one of them is considered to be running away, unless you rectify this immediately.
Incredible. Okay, so in fact, one of the things that the referees must do is that, like, be able to calculate how far away you are apart from each other, and the second that they see you're too far apart, they will start a timer. Very good.
Exactly.
Excellent. I now nominate Abbas to tell us something about roof ball.
Okay, it's an idea I had before, and it's not really a rule so much as a gap in the rules, which is that the goalpost can literally be moved.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Very good.
Like, it is like some of the most dramatic moments have come in the last minute of roof ball games where the opposite team's about to score and you just pick up your goalpost and you run with it.
Okay, so is there only one goal? That's like two goalposts, right? Like, so the points.
Yeah, but one on each end. I think there is a goalkeeper in this game, but rather than his job being to like stop the ball from going into the net, he
this person's.
Yeah, he literally is and runs away with it.
Amazing. Joan, would you like to tell us something about roof ball?
Well, so we've established that once you have the ball, you're not allowed to move or move by touching the ground. But there is a little addendum to that, in that if the game should proceed indoors through, say, a broken window, furniture does not count as the ground.
So the game is also the floor is lava. Wonderful.
Yeah, very good. Excellent, A+. And lastly, Miraz, why don't you tell us something about this incredible game?
All players are required to be living human beings.
I'm going to just write this down. All players are required to be living human beings. Incredible. So here's just a few of the rules of roof ball that all of you know very well. Vickers, are you still in the air? Because I think if you are, you run the risk at some point of, in fact, activating the timer.
Oh no, I am zooming straight towards the other team
excellent.
captain.
Very good.
You see, it was defined last session, if you recall, that she is the strength of her team. Like they're actually not that good, but she is very good at coordinating them. And so my plan is to dive bomb at her, kick her in the solar plexus, knock the air out of her so she can't communicate with the team. And now that we have this rule about not being too far apart, I think I'm going to go further than that. I'm not just going to kick her in the solar plexus. I'm going to kick her away.
Excellent. Yes.
Just out and away, off the roof somewhere. She can deal with
very
it.
Good. So Miraz, you made some adjustments to the hang glider, right? So it's not like a complete garbage hang glider.
It's still pretty bad. I think it's like
Quality one, but it's not like going to fall apart at any moment. Which I think means you are only in a risky position, because Vickers is also like, she's athletic and physical and so on, so she's okay in that regard. So I don't think you're in a desperate position yet. I think this is quote unquote just risky. And great effect. You know exactly what the weakness of that team is. You are coming straight at them.
Mm-hmm.
They can see you, but there's not very much they can do about that right now. Like I think what is happening maybe is the opposing captain is kind of like trying to get away, and then like when she realizes you're coming straight for her, is bracing for impact. But yeah, like I think the risk here, in fact, is that as you do this, Goopy and Baga will get closer to your goal, because own goals are still goals, right?
Mm-hmm. I have a solution for this, obviously. They have seen my team, quote unquote, pick up the ball. So obviously, without their leader commanding them, they're going to tackle the people carrying the ball.
So if this succeeds, yeah, absolutely. No problem. Yeah.
Okay, I think the action is skirmish, probably. I think
I think roof ball actions could be skirmish, wreck, and finesse, but in this case, skirmish makes perfect sense.
And I will activate the Tiger's Fury, which means that when I activate it, you can push violently against your enemies, knocking them back, down, or over. So no matter how this goes, she will be sent away. And it also gives me a bonus die, so risky, great, bonus die. Can I get an assistance from someone?
All right, so the opposite team is coming for the ball, which is in our vicinity, and we've got like where the violence has been taking place. Are we on the move? Is Joan taking them away towards the?
Yeah, Joan is leading the people away to have a conversation. So it's actually just you and me here. It's just Abbas and Vickers who are like in the scene at the moment.
How about this? If maybe Abbas can join it, lead the charge for the opposite team towards the thugs, but just peel away.
So basically, just temporarily join the opposite team and infiltrate them too.
Yeah, just infiltrate them. Make sure that they're charging correctly.
We do know that Abbas is particularly good at giving instructions to these exact set of people. So,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so the confusion is maximal. I will take that assistance. Thank you. And it's a 4. Okay. So I do accomplish my goal, but with some consequence.
So I think this is what happens. First, as you're in the air, we get this incredible shot, like the anime kind of shot, right? Like of like looking up and like the lens flare off of your like hang glider and wings. But it's a very odd lens flare because the light is not from the sun. It's from like the mirror happening to reflect the light of the fire in your direction at that moment, right? So we see this like Vickers for a moment genuinely like an avenging angel before realizing that she is not here to like kick ass and take names. She's here to kick ass and take control of the ball. So you crash straight into your opponent. She has no chance, no time to like really react, and this may not even be the first time you've done this, and your previous training definitely like I think helping you. And I think that like you bowl her clean over a roof. But unfortunately, I think below this is just another roof, like where you are playing the current, like where she happens to be standing. I think she managed to make sure that she wasn't going to hit the ground because that would make things more tricky if someone was to pass the ball to her. But at the moment, like I feel like what you have done is done the thing where have you seen like in the Batman games where like you swoop down, you hit someone and they go flying, but you're still like holding on to them, right? So you have complete control of her, and she's taken a very bad beating. But while this is happening, Abbas, you are very good at giving instructions. And as a result, what has now happened is that the people leading your charge have kind of gone, okay, our captain is out of commission, but apparently we have a vice captain now who's just as good. And so they follow your instructions to the letter and improvise where maybe you didn't want them to. Manage to get the ball out of Goopy's hands, like very like fluently, kick them out, and start charging at your goal in a well-defined, practiced formation. And unfortunately for you, your team is not able to withstand this. And unless something happens right about now, they're going to score. Now, roof ball scores can go anywhere from 0 to 100, depending on what variant you're playing. But right now, the score is 0-0. So if they score, that will be you will be losing. You want to resist any of this?
Thanks. I mean, it doesn't seem like a terrible. I mean, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like a terrible thing to happen to go 1-0 down in a game where the score can go up to 100.
You would say that, but like we'll find out how you roll, and maybe this game ends 1-0.
Yeah.
One thing we have not defined, by the way, is how roof ball ends. We'll find that out sometime during this.
You know, I'll let it happen. I think it's funnier that way if Abbas just.
Yeah, I think, like, you get some very puzzled looks from your team, and like certainly one or two of them who have like real faith in you are like, oh, it's Abbas. He's telling them maybe this is all a plan, right? So like one of the reasons that the opposing team is getting very far is that they are choosing not to. Maybe this is all like a sly ploy, right? So
Okay.
I want to, like, as this happens, I want to just cut to Miraz and Elizabeth, who are now, I think, a little bit further away from the crowd. Maybe you're actually in the temple. I don't think Elizabeth has any knowledge of the temple. This is probably the first time she's been here. But, you know, she goes to the door, like, just holds you in. It's much quieter in here because the action's all outside. Sits you down and has you kind of, like, basically at sword point as you recover from this, and she says, brother-in-law, I would like to have a word.
Oh, hello, Lizzie. Met your father the other day, and why are you pointing a sword at me? You always do this sort of thing. You never just come around and just say, "Can I come over for tea? Is that okay with you, Miraz and Vickers? It'd be lovely to see you." No, you always show up with a sword, or you show up, bang the door open, and go, "What are your intentions with my sister?" Why can't you just be a normal person?
I am, in fact, very normal, brother-in-law. What is not
No, you're not.
normal is...
How is this normal? And I'm going to like hold the sword, and I'm going to like by the point and kind of wave it around.
Yeah, and I think she will say, ignoring you, just bullying straight over you, will say, and even louder, using superheated gas to melt a man's face off and then walk away as if it is perfectly normal. That is not normal, brother-in-law, and it is of great concern to me because, well, you are married to my sister, and my father did see you, and he did tell me about that. It seemed very gruesome, in fact, the way he made it out. Of course, his her father is your nemesis, and he's very incentivized to make it seem even more gruesome than it was, but it was already pretty gruesome to start with.
Yeah. I think Miraz is going to kind of flush and be a bit flustered and say, "Oh, well, I didn't want to." I won't say he had it coming. It was pretty awful, as you say. Your father thinks it was gruesome, huh? He didn't have to see it straight up. And Miraz doesn't say, Miraz doesn't add, he didn't have to smell it, but that's what is running through Miraz's head. And then he kind of tries to dismiss the memory of it. Anyway, it was self-defense. It was the only way I knew how to get out of the situation. And, well, I don't see why you need to point a sword at me because of that.
Well, the reason I need to point a sword at you, brother-in-law, is because I have discovered that the man that you were fighting, and in fact, some of the men you've been dealing with, are hardcore criminals. Men of the underworld, belonging to an organization called The Hive. You may know of these people. I understand you took a large amount of money from them for some undisclosed purpose. Maybe the reason that I'm pointing a sword at you is because I understand now that you are and always have been a scoundrel.
Hardcore? I mean, I don't know. Morosim and his friends, they're a bit amateur. What's the Hive?
The Hive, brother-in-law, and I do not for one second believe you do not know this, is one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in Akros, and they are even now spreading their tendrils using people like you in Uduasha itself. Now, you are not policed in the civilized and decent manner that most places are. You have these vigilant who don't show their faces, but even they are fighting very hard against the hive, brother-in-law, and you are doing them a disservice by choosing to aid such people.
The Vigilant, you believe in them? They don't exist. And the Hive, they can't be. Well, if they're hiring people like Morrison, they can't be all that. Listen, I think you have the whole thing. You're blowing the whole thing out of proportion, right? There's a bit of a celebration outside. There seems to be some sort of, I don't know, some sort of problem with zoning law or something. My uncle Abbas can sort that out, I'm sure. And I'm like dabbing at the blood on my nose. Ouch. Vickers, I think, is playing roofball. You know how it is with her. Listen, we can just go outside. We can have a nice evening, and then we can, allay your concerns.
Yeah, I think this is a role. I think you have to convince her. And in fact, you're in a pretty controlled position in that nothing is going to go very wrong here. Like, she's got you at sword point, quote unquote sword point, right? Like, she's going to stab you. But I think you're going to have a limited effect in that she's not just going to let you walk away. So you can make an impression, but not enough to get all the way out.
Mm-hmm. I think this is one of the situations where my character is doing something that calls for a role, even if I don't personally see it as working.
Who knows?
Maybe it will work. I don't know.
Yeah, controlled, limited. And like the thing with limited effect here is that standard effect would be you convince her and get away. Limited effect is she pays some attention perhaps to you, but she doesn't let you leave.
Okay. Is there a devil's bargain?
Oh, is there a devil's bargain here? Everything that happens here is going to go straight back to your father-in-law. You might have otherwise not, bothered to mention it to him, but now, all of the not great bits are going straight.
Okay. I have broken nose, level 2, and head cut, level 1. I'm going to use broken nose to reduce my dice by 1. I think that makes sense. I'm trying to be like, everything's fine while profusely bleeding.
6, though. So a 6 and a 3, very good.
Huh. Oh yeah, it should actually just have been the 6 because I forgot to take away a dice for the.
Oh, it's still a 6.
But it's still a 6.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so interesting. Why does this change her mind? Okay. I think that you stand up, and I think actually what kind of impresses her is your barefaced willingness to go, everything is fine, even though you are clearly injured, right? Yeah.
Everything is fine. I mean, I've had worse from Roofball. I have.
And I think with a 6 here, I think she also maybe intuits that you genuinely don't know maybe what the hive is, right? So she's not about to let you leave, but what she will do is she'll kind of do the thing where maybe she flicks the sword, puts it in your way and says, truly, brother-in-law, you cannot tell me you spent years in Duskwall and did not hear about the hive.
The hive. Yeah. Yes, that. I mean, I knew some people who did drugs in the student hall, as did everyone, of course, right? Not me. I say that just to reiterate because she's clearly suspects of me, the worst of me, right? But no, I never did anything of the sort. But yeah, I mean, people used to always say that they got this and that from this and that place, and I've heard of the hive, I suppose, but I also heard of the unseen. I've heard of the foundation. Wait,
yes,
I'm in the foundation.
She says, I think. No,
I'm sure. I'm sure they're
I
fine.
think she says, the hive are not to be trifled with, brother-in-law. They are a power. They have approached my father about funding this airship. Now, he was not swayed by them, but they are looking for footholds in Uduasha. And they, not having found me, and not having found my father, may have found you. Now, please understand, Vickers is doing enough to embarrass us, and, well, I can clearly see what kind of man you are, but the Ashcroft name cannot afford to be sullied in this fashion.
All right, Lizzie. And here, Miraz is, he's lost a bit of patience, but he's trying to rationalize and calm her down a bit. All right, Lizzie. Okay. Okay, let's say the Hive is a force to be reckoned with, as you say. Even though why such a force would be hiring a man named Morozim, I have no idea. The man is an absolute scoundrel and a chump. But I have not had good dealings with Morozim, and I doubt I'll have good dealings with any of his other compatriots. So if you're worried about me being, I don't know, in their pocket or one of their stooges, well, rest assured, I am not. I don't like them, and I don't think they like me.
I think her eyes narrow and she says, so you have already upset them.
Your father saw me hit burst open a steam pipe on one of them. Yes, I suppose they don't like me.
And I think she raises her sword just a bit and then says,
And Lizzie, you need to have other ways of communicating. You already have my attention. I'm like waving my hand at the sword. Like, put that ridiculous thing down.
I think she will say, ask whoever it is you deem wise about this. Ask, I suppose your father is a nice enough man, or perhaps that woman, Joan, may have heard something. Ask those who you trust. And come back to me when you understand that this is no joking matter. And I am not attempting to gain your attention. I'm attempting to impress upon you. She's being very serious. And it's probably odd because you've never seen her quite like this. She's been disdainful, I'm better than you. But right now she's genuinely like, mate, can you really just get with the plan?
Okay, fine. Consider me suitably impressed. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to tell Morozim and his friends to fuck off. Oh yes, I saw him skulking around trying to make some sort of mischief. I suppose if you're worried about it, maybe you can help me eject them. I suppose this sort of thing is also speaking their language, and I pointed the sword.
How you've permitted their influence? Fuck. Very well. Lay on.
I haven't permitted their influence. What am I supposed to do? We can't afford a security guard on the temple gate.
You have an entire team of thugs playing roofball, and you cannot afford to set one person against your enemies? Oh, come now, Miraz. Either you're incompetent or you are.
That's... Well, clearly I'm not the criminal mastermind you think I am.
That is becoming rapidly obvious. Yeah, and I think, she's like, okay, fine. Let's go see this guy.
Weaponized stupidity.
Yeah, absolutely. Joan, you are making your way to this perch. And in fact, what is somewhat not surprising to anybody in universe, but interesting for us as viewers is that all four of these people, so Nabila, Farzana, Boshundara, and Abdullah, are all very adept at climbing over roofs, right? Getting a leg over a low parapet to get on the other side, right? This is just how you walk in Uduwasha, right? As you approach the perch, the snake, which until now has been kind of coiled quite lazily, but watching with interest what is occurring, now turns to look at you, and immediately the four people behind you are compelled to bow, right? It's an involuntary reaction. They immediately just fall to their feet and kneel in obeisance to the god. Do you do that?
I give a bow as well, but a slightly more relaxed one.
And I think, I think His Majesty says, Joan, I see you have visitors. Greetings to you. Be welcome in our humble little temple.
Guests indeed. Who are, she says with a little smile, coming, I believe, to inspect the integrity of this holy ground, structurally speaking. But first, of course, a tribute and an honoring is in order.
Yeah, and I think as soon as you say this, the first person to kind of rise is the girl, Nabila, right? She stands up, and from her, from the inside of the jacket that she's wearing, she produces a what looks like a small ring, and probably not worth very much, but the way that she's handling it indicates that it's of like great sentimental value, right? And she presents it to the snake and says, Lord, I felt your touch upon me. This is but the least I can show you. And I think the snake looks at her and smiles and doesn't say anything as she places the ring in front of it. The other three are genuinely too stunned to act. Like, they're just like, what? Like, this is an actual god? Oh my god.
Oh my god, indeed. I'm kind of trying to think what to do here. It seems like the immediate goal of getting the situation under control again and continue to be like Lord in our own house is achieved.
Yeah, the main problem is, of course, that having done that, you have brought like some mortals in front of your god, and they are not used to its influence, apart from the one on whom it has exerted influence. This is like, you see a ghost, either you resist, you run away, or you are shocked into silence. Except in this case, they are shocked into fervent belief.
Well, that can be pretty good for us, but it is a bit awkward in this moment. So I think, I think what Joan is going to do is speak to them and encourage them. I think what she's going to do is turn to the Eternal One, turn to the snake, and ask. I believe they carry some concerns, as I have said before. Would you be willing to hear them once the roof ball match, the entertainment for today, is concluded?
I think the snake turns its head, sees the match, and then looks back at you and says, "Oh, do not worry. I'm perfectly capable of observing both." And then, like, as if kind of like a elderly person forgetting something and then suddenly remembering that, like, oh, wait a second, they're still in shock. It like shakes its head, and they both rise. And no, all three of them rise. And Farzana holds Nabila's hand and just like pulls her back as if to be like, "Don't fucking get in the way, little girl. This is stressful." And Boshundara, being the more brash and rude one, is going to look at the snake and say, "I have read about your cult, oh great one. You are a god of change, of renewal, of growth. Is it not within your remit to change what is, so that what may be will appear?" And I think you realize in this moment that, like, the risk, of course, of like putting someone like this in front of a god is that you don't actually know whether the god is going to be like, nope, or is going to be like, actually, this would be quite funny. So unless you do something now, the snake might just be like, you know what? Maybe we do need to redecorate. Who knows? We are a god of like eternal change, and don't change the sanctum sanctorum, but like, so, yeah, I wouldn't mind. And like, you can see, because of your familiarity with it, you can see that like alien mind for a moment think to itself, this would be amusing. And unless you do something, it is going to say out loud, this will be amusing.
I think she will like kind of maybe kind of hastily interject. We do still carry ceremonies here and guests that are in need of our roof, and a priesthood that is in need of the space. It's change is something to be desired that we can all agree on. I am worried, however, representative, turning to Kushundara, about the depth of the change and the person who decides what sort of change is to be made.
I think the snake says, well, it seems to me we have the perfect committee to decide right here, do we not? And then it like turns and looks at Nabila and says, you are a child of Unrakis. Yes, you would also make a excellent addition to this committee. Joan, I think that the four of you will Draw up a plan. Detail how you intend to enact change here. It has been too long. We have been stagnant. We have been bored. And I think it is time to see something new. And I agree. There is much to value, but there is so much more yet to be seen in the world. And like, this is your God. Like it is the holy word of that which eternally changes. And honestly, I think you will need to roll resistance just to try and talk back to it, because this is not an idle fancy.
There is no world in which Joan would think of counteracting that.
And so I think what the snake does, and for a moment, all of you, even Nabila, who's the child, even though she's technically not on this committee, all of you are briefly transported from where you are. You find yourselves in a cavern, and in this cavern is an infinite number of candles, each of them flickering what appears to be a different color. And you can smell what appears to be maybe sugar, maybe cinnamon. You can't really make out, but something delightful, something savory. And you see the snake, and the snake says, "In the name of that which eternally changes, in the name of the Chakraborty, I charge you, bring me plans." And I think it, as it says this, each person here sees a candle, and the candle flickers before burning even brighter. And somehow you feel like, oh, that one's mine. That's the one that'll go out when I die. And then you're transported back.
Joan bows her head. Thank you, Lord, for your wise counsel.
You are very welcome, my dear. Of course, if you would like, if any of you would like, you may stay here and watch the festivities. It appears that Abbas is leading the opposing team towards their own goal. Now, that is a novel strategy that I'm sure will backfire. And I think this is when we cut, right, to Abbas leading this team and back to the roof ball match, because we see the snake, and in the snake's eyes, we see exactly what is happening, right? And we get that moment of like, what sometimes happens on like TV, right? Like where the iris of the person who's watching becomes the scene.
I want to define something about roofball here. I think that having just scored, because we did establish the other team did score, right? And I think having scored, what makes sense to me is since the goalposts can move, I think what the team does after they score is the team that got, whose goal got hit, they move their goal. And the team that scored the goal kick the ball onto a roof. And then you get like a number of points, basically style points for like the coolness of the kick and how far away you kick it. And if you kick it to an empty roof and so on. And this is rather than just reset the teams, like the match is always ongoing. It's just once you score, you get the opportunity to kick. And then, the match totally changes because one of the goals has now moved and the ball is now somewhere random. I think that is what's happening at the moment. I just wanted to define that.
In fact, as soon as they score, one of the rare, brief pauses in a game of roofball occurs when Vinay, the gargoyle, who was meant to come see Zajidan, but is also the referee of this game, has one of those referee whistles, blows it very shrill, very loud, 2 times, which is the signal, of course, for score. And he comes rushing in because this is one of the few things that you have to respect, right? You can't steal the ball away from the team that's just scored. And roofballers would 1 billion% try if they could. So the referee turns up, and there is a knowing glance passed between the referee, Vinay, and one of the team members on the Scotlander side. And this is the moment where we discover, of course, that unless you've done the same, the Scotlanders have definitely bribed this referee, which is customary. But they've bribed him to make sure that he'll be on their side, because otherwise he was going to probably pick you, right?
I don't think we have the money to do it, but maybe Abbas can persuade him.
If you want to
somehow.
flash back to persuading, that is also fine. But unless you do this, this is the moment where we discover that what is about to happen, the kickoff, the other roof, and so on. This referee is likely to go 40 points, which is why maybe some games go up to 100.
I will leave this to Abbas. I have my own plan.
Yeah. I don't know if that's if Abbas is the bribing referees kind of Ruth Ball, like I think he's got a more romantic view of the game, where like, yeah, things like this don't happen. Like, but I mean, once of course the referee does say 40 points. I think, in fact, he might be caught up with the euphoria and start
You're
celebrating.
celebrating with the other team?
Great.
This is the first time he's played Ruth Ball in like 20 years or
Yeah,
whatever, right?
yeah.
So you know, it's
Makes
like, oh
sense.
my god, I scored 40 points. We're not already seeing this. Miraz?
Excellent. So what happens, in fact, is that Abbas, you have led your team to such an incredible goal, and the ball is placed in front of you. Vinay recognizes you and places in front of you, knowing that whatever you do, points will be fine. Why do you kick it?
Where do I kick it? Oh,
And so blows out our brief candle. I named the disciples of the ceaseless temple thus, with both their false names and true. Soumithri, called Tree as the GM. Zoheb, called Klow as Miraz. Prince as Vickers. Emma as Joan. Aadiyat, called Soap as Abbas. Blades in the Dark and the original inspiration for Udo Asha by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions. Iruvian playbooks by Johnstone Metzger. Jalandhar intro music by Kevin MacLeod. Outro music in Keeravani Ragam by U. Srinivas. Follow us at Desperate Attune on Twitter or email us at desperateattune@gmail.com. Support us at kofi.com/desperateattune.